Hello, everyone, and welcome to Love at the End of the World, Episode 1. And I am honored. I am Jamen and I am honored and so grateful to introduce my girlfriend and love of my life and my queen, Melissa Koch.
Thank you, Jamen.
Welcome.
Love you.
All right. So please jump in or lead the way, my queen. Or I can say a few words as you wish.
Yeah. How would you like to get started?
Yeah. Okay. Well, why don't we just kind of kick it around and brainstorm it a bit. First, welcome everyone to our program. And I would maybe start with just kind of the inspiration of it, which is that our love at the end of the world, with a big nod to such great programs as the Social Club at the End of the World and the Guy Fawkes and Jamen Show, acknowledging that we are at an extremely perilous point, to say the very least, and just footsteps away from human extinction per Guy McPherson's projections, based on peer-reviewed scientific journal literature. We're coming largely, but not entirely, from that frame, from that perspective. We're also coming from a place of, what can we do? What can we do that's positive, that's constructive? And we firmly believe that the foundation is love, compassion, generosity, peace. I'm just, gratitude. And so we just wanted to open up this conversation to the world. And in the two of us meeting and coming together, working, collaborating initially on projects involving art and global transformation, a love slowly but surely, I often make the metaphor of like a volunteer flower, just started to sprout up. And, but this was in the midst of our shared passion for saving and healing whatever can be saved and healed and protected of Mother Earth, who is in the process of dying. And so in the process of this great dying, and in the process of our working together passionately to bring some healing and compassion as much as we possibly can, this love between us sprang up. So what better title than Love at the End of the World? What do you think, my queen?
Right. I'd like to re-mention what we were discussing earlier today about this new way of being in a relationship and this new way of being in love, which we kind of all take for granted that it can just happen. But what I find really powerful is that we've become conscious of our relationship first with ourselves to ourselves. And then once we found that deep connection with our own soul, with our own self, and are maintaining a healthy relationship with ourselves and loving ourselves as we turned up here, fully as we are in essence, that permits us to be in right relationship with the other, with the beloved, and in right relationship with Mother Earth and with all living beings.
That's really beautiful. And what that makes me think of is that in our working independently before we met each other, independently towards protecting and healing Mother Earth, including humanity, that when we came together, since that was our common aim, that kind of presupposed or was built upon a certain foundation within, self to self, of relationship self to self, because that to a large degree has to be whole in order to really be in service of other, whether it's Mother Earth or another human being or whatever. Anyway, your thoughts, my queen?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what I can add to that. Today, where it's brought me is to a sense of gratitude and a sense of fulfillment and a deeper sense of reverence and appreciation for the moment right here, right now. we've also talked about being in relationship and in love in a way that is a practice of non-attachment. So how can we love another without living fearfully, without living in a way that's clinging to or attached to the other, without being controlling or manipulative? And then if we look at that in a larger way of our relationship with the earth, is how can we love Mother Earth, and how do we enact that love for the earth? So each one of us can enact that on a daily basis in a variety of ways. And some of my suggestions are taking care of the water, taking care of the air, taking care of the land, whether it's planting holistically, whether it's taking care of the animals who are having a hard time now, planting habitats, maintaining habitats, and that this is an act of love. Just as when we love another, we take care of as well, or we practice kindness. So I'm opening this up for all of us as a discussion. How can we practice kindness to one another, to self, and to the earth, that will restore balance and restore harmony?
Wow, that's so beautiful, my love. One thing that occurs to me is loving each other, loving our mother, loving each other, loving our mother, and that there's a natural kind of ebb and flow to that, and a completeness to that, and that I hypothesize that we can't have one without the other. We need both to really be whole.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. That's kind of the yin and the yang of love, of sorts. Loving each other, loving our mother, and by working together in service of our mother, we fell in love. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
It's like, whoop, that was just the natural missing piece. It was just like, and so this is something that is so inspiring to us, that we just wanted to share it with the world, and B, open up the conversation. And thank you so much for opening it up, my queen. And I second the motion. We wholeheartedly open up this conversation to everyone, to talk about just what does love at the end of the world mean to you. So kind of the grand prerequisites, I would say, is some understanding of, for lack of a better word, the Guy McPherson stuff, the Paul Beckwith stuff, if I'm remembering the Canadian researcher's name. And I'll post links after we post this video. But we're presupposing some fundamental understanding that things are really, really super bad in terms of abrupt climate change, destruction of the biosphere, the sixth mass extinction, poisoning of the oceans, the simultaneous collapse / melting of both the poles, notably the Arctic sea ice, Greenland. The list goes on, and a short list of recent tragedies just underscores how rapidly things are collapsing. So, what does it mean to love our Mother Earth in this, time of arguably hospice, right? I'd like to be a bit more optimistic, but there I'm acknowledging my own bias, right? My own confirmation bias that seeks to reinforce my position every day, which is that there's something that we can do, right? And I to my dying breath, I maintain there is something we can do.
So may I interject?
Please. Thank you. Thank you for interjecting, my queen. Always. Thank you.
So I would like to open up this thought to everyone, that if we look at the life on Earth and the life of the Earth from a higher plane and a bigger picture of it, if we think of the Earth as a living being, which she is, Gaia, and has soul as well, what if she has come to her term? Just as in each incarnation, we have an X number of years life expectancy, and then the soul departs from the body and leaves it behind. And so if we look at this as, even though it looks like an unnatural course, as a natural course, although this these particular experiences we're having appear to be a result of human intervention or human activity, I could say it like that. So if we look at Mother Earth as in a critical state, how can we love her and take care of her at this time, through this time of her coming to her fruition, to the end of her life, before changing state, before transformation occurs? And that would also occur for each one of our own lives. Like, how can we live differently in a way that is reverential and, again, going back to this word kindness, and loving way to live together as community, together as humanity, living on the earth holistically, and in individual relationships as well, and in family, but the larger family, which includes the trees and all the animals and insects and birds and fish, etc.
Wow. Wow. What you said was so beautiful and so complete. And one of the things I love about this medium, and I invite others to jump in by adding comments, by saying, hey, can I, join your video conference sometime? And, there's a lot I'd like to say on this, and, whatever, just comment away, right? Propose away. And, one of the lines of inquiry will inevitably be, well, to what end? What are we trying to achieve anyway, right? That's not to say that the previous wasn't complete, but I'm just saying a lot of folks, particularly men, I think, are going to ask that question, and it's a perfectly fair one. And I just like to pontificate a little bit, but whenever you think is a good time, my queen, because I love how you're guiding the conversation.
I think the word achievement is really dangerous, because that is saying that there's something to do. And that's not saying to be inactive, of course, but I think we need to think about that.
Wow.
And when you talk about purpose, what if we looked at our purpose differently? That each one of you, each one of us, is a thread that's threaded into the universe, the picture of the big picture of the universe. And we're part of this tapestry of life. And that tapestry at the moment is falling apart as we have known life for X hundreds of years. And we're now being asked to find each one of our own threads. And by that, I mean our inner purpose. So in a way that requires reflection rather than doing, like digging deep inside yourself to know thyself. Who are you? What is your purpose? Why did you come here? What is that beautiful voice, that soulfulness of yourself that you came here to be, to bring into the world? So that part of the healing is finding that voice, finding that we're not empty, that we're full, and that if we practice that fullness with purpose, that is part of the solution, possibly, for this rebalancing. But we don't know at the same time really where we're going. We don't know what this new world is, what we're becoming. So it's a confusing time. It's an exciting time. It's a creative time. So I would love to hear thoughts from other people about this, so we can have a discussion about this, and how can we co-create together? How can we co-sponsor, co-care for one another, building this new world and taking care of the earth at this time, whether there's extinction or not? How do we do that? Because I think even just having that experience of living sanely, I'll call it that way, you know, not consuming, not, you know, having that time to just be and be connected to source, to life, to nature. So having an appreciation, but also living in a way that's different from how we have lived, even if it's for 5 minutes. I think that experience is really rewarding, whether we're here tomorrow or not. Because none of us actually ever know what tomorrow will bring, and never have. Over to you, Jamen.
No, thank you, my love. Thank you. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. You know, one thought that comes to mind is, and I know this is kind of coming at it from a totally different dimension. It is looking at, you know, like, what tangible changes could we achieve in the time that remains? And I want to, you know, acknowledge that there, in particularly in the series Social Club at the End of the World, where we grapple with, you know, what can we possibly do in the time that remains? What can we possibly heal or save? And I'm getting a lot of, you know, respectful flack back from the community saying, dude, you know, wake up, it's over, right? It's over, it's over, it's over. All right. So let me start with one small possible milestone as a counter argument to it's over, and there's nothing that we can do. There's nothing positive that we can possibly achieve in the time that remains, which is very little. You know, weeks to months, according to Guy McPherson, for most of humanity. One possible milestone, just imagine, that we build a whole bunch of these amazing weather-resistant robots that that go around doing a combination of managing, but managing with a view to shutting down, decommissioning, safely decommissioning all of the 440-odd nuclear power plants that are active around the world today. This is under the following hypothesis, that we truly are, you know, Thelma and Louise style, flying over the edge of the cliff. We're about to crash at the bottom of the valley floor, and or the canyon floor, and it's truly too late to save humanity. Okay, fine. Imagine that in the time that remains, let's say it's months or whatever, we build these amazing robots that are, you know, that plug into the nuclear power plants to get their power, and, you know, they've got massive battery, you know, warehouses to store electrical power so they can, you know, recharge whenever they need to. It's kind of like a mission to Mars, except it's a mission to Earth, right? To decommission the nuclear power plants, because under the hypothesis that we're crashing so fast that humanity's gone, you know, everything's gone, and what we want to avoid then is that all these nuclear power plants go Fukushima, which would be almost inevitable in that scenario, and put out so much radiation, so much contamination that it literally fries the atmosphere, and that we end up with an atmosphere-free, dead, hot, radioactive rock that cannot support life of any kind. And that's curtains for life on Earth for the rest of eternity. I'm painting a very bleak picture. So if that's the risk, then let's mitigate that, right, as best we can, right? Maybe we shut down 99% of the nuclear power plants, but only 4 of them go Fukushima. Well, maybe Mother Earth can handle that. Maybe she can't. But, you know, let's do the best we can. So that's just an example. Look, it's not black or white. It's not like either all is lost or, oh, we, you know, with all these technologies, we can save everything. You know, maybe it is all is lost, but maybe it's shades of gray, right? Maybe we can achieve, maybe that first milestone, boom, is way over here. You know, yes, we're going to lose 90% of life on Earth, perhaps, but at least we get rid of the nuclear power plants and the nuclear missiles, so that Mother Earth at least has the opportunity to bounce back, even if it's millions or even tens of millions of years later, hundreds of millions of years later. You know, the time doesn't really matter. What matters is that life come back, or at least have the possibility of continuing and bouncing back. What do you think, my queen? Does that resonate?
So what's coming to me, Jamen, is that that is your thread. So I was mentioning about each one of us have this purpose that we came here with, that are, if we seek within, it is revealed. It can be revealed to us. And so you speak frequently about these visions that you have, these solutions, which I would say is part of your purpose, your thread. That's what you're bringing. And you will meet others who will be bringing parallel ideas and thoughts where you can collaborate together.
Yeah.
And others of us will have other threads and other ideas of how to live at this time and what we can contribute, if that's the word I'm thinking best to use, or inspire others as a way for, I don't even like the word a way forward, but a way to be now. My own particular thought is that the best thing I can do is be as pure or loving, and pure doesn't mean perfect. Don't get me wrong. It just means really clear about who I am and what I brought with me and want to use as my gift for this world now in this lifetime. And for me, it's about staying connected with spirit and not just seeing the world as flat and as just a physical reality, but that there's something bigger at play here. I think that's really important because we might be going somewhere else if we don't know, into another dimension that we can intuit, but we don't necessarily know. And so perhaps the way to be is to be more connected to spirit rather than finding these solutions for stopping what seems inevitable. And again, I'm not saying to not do those things. That's your thread.
Yeah.
My thread is different.
Totally. And so really the question to and that's beautifully stated. So the question to our community is, what's your thread? Right? And feel free to borrow other people's threads, let this become, the GitHub of, thread generation and evolution of threads and intertwining of threads. I mean, I love how your threads are different from my threads, and we can bring, and because I've got many different threads, you've got many different threads, right, that we bring together and we interweave them, and it's beautiful. These beautiful tapestries, right? So let's start creating the grand tapestry of humanity's evolution through this very challenging, at a minimum, very challenging, times ahead.
I think that's really important. Also, because it helps us to have, again, that sense of community and inclusion rather than isolation. I think that's really important.
Yeah, totally. So please join the conversation. Maybe we could wrap up by just giving a few examples of other threads that are some of our favorites, just to kind of share a little bit about, I mean, I'm comfortable doing so or not. What do you think, my queen?
Sure. You want to get started on that one?
Yeah.
What your threads? But you're
just. I'm thinking about just kind of bulletizing them. What do you think? Just kind of briefly giving a little list of some of the threads with just like maybe 20 seconds each.
Okay, you want to start?
Yeah, and then you jump in anytime.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Let's do that.
Let's mix my chocolate with your peanut butter. Okay. So, so one of my big threads is community cafes, and the folks who've participated in this are too many to name, but wonderful international community working on this to feed the hungry actually feed everyone, just make food a basic human right. Nutritional foods that are raised in ways that are healing to Mother Earth rather than harming to Mother Earth. Anyway, community cafes. Well, who's going to fund all that? The compassionate economy, which is another big thread. An economy of sharing rather than economy of hoarding, an economy of healing Mother Earth rather than harming Mother Earth, extracting from Mother Earth and contaminating. And so that's another big thread. And Triple C is the standard we're pioneering. And anyway, there's good stuff up there on YouTube and on my Facebook page on that. And then others are Radical Collective Intelligence, a platform for bringing people together to co-create all of the aforementioned and all of the other solutions that we so urgently and desperately need, from solutions ranging from geoshading, artificially cooling planet Earth, artificially, using large-scale geoengineering projects to prevent further loss of ice to the extent that it can be prevented at all in the Arctic, to the extent that it can be. I'm not saying that we can necessarily hold that one back, but I'm just saying let's explore it. All right, and let's use collective intelligence, not just any collective intelligence, radical collective intelligence, as we discuss on howtochangetheworld.org and radish.org, among many other places, my Facebook page, various YouTube videos, etc. Everything from geoshading to holistic land management to transforming our educational system to transforming our politics. We're leading a movement. Another one of my threads is leading a movement to remove all criminal drug cartels from the state of Washington, making the state of Washington the first state in the country completely free of violent criminal drug cartels. And that being a first major milestone among many for purging all forms of organized crime from planet Earth, including organized crimes against Mother Earth herself. So that's a whole strategy, which is a bunch of threads that are interwoven. And anyway, those are a few of mine that I work on very frequently. So, and with much passion.
Right. So the thread that I have running through me is art. And so things that I find valuable and important now is how to bring that to the community and how to plant seeds with that as a vehicle for storytelling and for awakening awareness in youth. So mentoring youth and working with children to plant seeds so that they know more about nature and how to take care of nature and one another. So respect and how to communicate well, how to be good communicators. So if there's a disagreement, we can actually work it through rather than hitting each other. Working with elders so that we bring all ages together again, that we value children and we value elders, that it's not just youth that is valued. So we maintain the stories of the world. Diversity, working with refugee children, and honoring First Nations people by sharing stories and helping to give them voice as well, because they know and stay connected to nature and to spirit. And that's something very valuable that we can learn from. So those are some of mine.
Wow. Beautiful. So now that we've shared some of our threads, and there are many more that we work on and that are passionate about, so many threads, so little time, right?
So get busy.
Yeah.
Get out there and make a difference.
So this series, that this is the inaugural first episode of Love at the End of the World, is yet another thread that we came up with together, and we said, let's do it. So the nature of this thread is to reach out and inspire many, many, many other threads to come join the conversation. So feel free to post generously, post all your thoughts, You know, constructive criticism, welcome. Challenges, welcome. New ideas, absolutely welcome. That's the whole idea, is come with your own ideas from whatever field, left field, right field, center field, you know, you name it field.
Right.
Right? You name it non-field. I mean, don't restrict yourself to fields. I mean, it's just like whatever. So, you know, bring whatever, and let's start mixing our threads together. And who knows, you might even discover love at the end of the world.
Let's create a new story together.
Let's do it.
A loving story together.
And also, it's not just about, you know, monogamous love between a man and a woman that, you know, that we share and treasure. It's also about the love of community that's forming. We're forming an amazing virtual, you know, call it a virtual community, if you will. Yeah. You know, we started somewhat virtual, you know, emailing each other and texting and whatnot and getting together. And, but I mean, let it start however it starts. But this is, you know, at a minimum, a great flattener, right? It flattens the world for us. It lets us all see each other and connect with each other. And this is, for me, generates so much love. There are people who I absolutely love who I've never seen in person, who, you know, like, for example, Dan Bader in Chicago on Social Club at the End of the World, Doctress Newtopia, Adrienne, so many great people that we work with on a weekly basis and do these kinds of recorded sessions. So, and this is part of Radical Collective Intelligence, right? Because this is recorded, right? All of these great thoughts and whatnot and interactions and everything that we're having is now, you know, saved on, you know, in a form that is hopefully permanent, right? And therefore accessible, therefore transcribable into text. That text is indexable, da, da, da. Anyway, that's a whole thread on Radical Collective Intelligence and the basis for it. And the point is that adding artificial intelligence on top of this medium gives us tremendous access to conversations that we never in 100 years would have discovered just by Googling or Facebooking or talking to friends. You know, stuff that's very specific to stuff that's very close to our heart, crossed with our aptitudes, crossed with our experience, crossed with our culture, crossed with the time when we were born. I was born in 1968, conceived in the summer of love in the San Francisco Bay Area. Wow, right? So I'm a monkey out of a cannon, you know, of love. And, you know, I'm a Taurus monkey. And so we can bring our very own personal contributions to the table, be guided through a combination of human intelligence, artificial intelligence, that is Radical Collective Intelligence, the mashup of the two, and be guided to those micro communities, which may, you know, come together for 20 minutes a week. But wow, the amazing stuff that's co-created in those 20 minutes, which then buttresses other stuff that's coming at it from totally different angles, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, this is just an example of Radical Collective Intelligence, but imagine all the collective intelligences coming together in one big federation. And wow, you know, that's real love and real power, you know, the power of love and the power of us, of all of us coming together and working together. So,
yeah, I'd like to add something here.
Please, please, please.
That I believe everything matters, even if life ends on Earth. Every thought and action matters. And so if the remaining time, if we're running out of time left, is filled with your actions that are loving and kind, whether that's feeding a bird, picking up garbage, it can be small, it can be big. I believe it matters. And I would like to conclude with that.
Beautiful. Thank you, my love. And welcome, and thank you. And we'll see you next time.